You ever been in a thrift store holding a $6 bread maker trying to calculate sell-through rate in your head like this is what you trained for in math class 27 years ago? Everyone tells you to check the sell-through rate, and on paper it sounds like the smart thing to do, right? Like demand is an important consideration, but on eBay, sell-through rate's just different, and calculating it accurately is almost impossible. The data's messy, the search works against you, and it takes way more time than you actually have at the moment, and it's totally unnecessary. Fortunately, there's a faster and easier way to understand demand. And once you start using it, you're going to wonder why you ever wasted time doing complicated math in the middle of a thrift store in the first place. Hello and welcome back to my weekly show where I talk about the ups and downs and in-betweens of selling on eBay. I do have a lot to talk about today, but no garage sale finds, unfortunately. This marks 2 weeks in a row where I've been skunked and didn't pick anything up at all. It was also Labor Day, there just wasn't a whole lot out there, so it's not surprising, but I do wish I would have found a few things. But we are going to talk through August because, right, it's September 1st already, so we're going to talk through the month of August and see how I did. And because this is a weekly show, we're also going to talk through the past week of sales. And then, of course, we'll go through my top 10 sales for the week. But first, we're going to jump right back into this sell-through rate conversation. So the reason that you hear sell-through rate talked about so much in reselling circles is because understanding demand is a really important part of the buying decision. Sell-through rate measures how well a product is selling by comparing how many units have sold to how many were available for sale over a specific period of time. And that number gives you a rough sense of how quickly something's likely to take to sell once you list it, which is important to know. Items with a high sell-through rate tend to move fast, while items with a low sell-through rate tend to sit. So if you're not considering sell-through rate at all, you're definitely just missing out. You'll end up buying things that might be valuable, but don't actually sell for 9 months or whatever. So sell-through rate's a really powerful way to separate what sells from what just sits there. But on eBay, trying to calculate that number accurately is like trying to do surgery with oven mitts on. Here's why. The data is messy. Unlike marketplaces with standardized listings, eBay is built on user-generated data, or chaos. eBay just isn't Amazon, not everything has a SKU. Every seller creates their own version of a listing for the same item with inconsistent titles or the wrong model numbers or missing item specifics or incorrect categories. So when you search for what you're holding in your hand to check the sell-through rate, you usually just don't get a clean list of matches by default, right? Like you get a mashup of things that are maybe sort of kind of similar to what you're selling and maybe sometimes kind of not. Of course, if what you're selling has a barcode that you can scan or a very specific model number, that makes it easier. But as we all know, many things that we sell on eBay just don't have that. And so the data that you're working with to calculate sell-through rate is just really messy. Number two, eBay search results just aren't built for sellers. By default, eBay sorts search results using best match, which is designed to help buyers make a purchase, not help us sellers check comps, which means even if the data were perfect, your search results would still be filled with similar but not identical items by design, because eBay is optimizing the search results to show what is most likely to result in a sale, and that might mean showing similar but different items, which is bad for calculating sell-through rate. Now you can switch the filter from best match to something like lowest price first to reduce that noise, and it does help, but you're still working with messy and inconsistent data to begin with. Getting a clean count of the number of active and sold listings that match exactly your item is just really hard for so many things that you might be selling on eBay. And without that, calculating sell-through rate accurately just can't be done. Number three, the time window is too short. eBay only shows sold listings from the last 90 days, which is fine for stuff that sells fast, but for seasonal items like Christmas stuff or slower selling products, it gives you an incomplete or misleading picture of demand. Obviously, you can hop over to product research to get up to 3 years of sales history, and in that case, eBay will even show you a calculated sell-through rate metric for you, but product research it suffers from the same data problem as regular search. They both use the same data, and the STR metric that they give you is just not accurate as a result. And even then, eBay hides that auto-calculated sell-through rate metric on product research for searches that go back further than 90 days. You can't see the sell-through rate for 3 years or 2 years or even 1 year, so what's the point? Number four, it's not practical in the field, and this is a big one, right? Like even if you could hack together a semi-accurate sell-through rate from eBay's filters and tools, it takes way too long to be useful when sourcing. Like you're in a thrift store or wherever, like you're juggling your phone and spotty cell signals, and there's other resellers breathing down your neck or workers staring at you and dozens of other distractions. Like you don't have 10 minutes to reverse engineer eBay search to get it to show you clean results. And you're not just looking up one item, right? Like you're checking comps on literally dozens of things per trip. And so the idea that you can calculate an accurate sell-through rate for everything that you're considering buying, it's just far-fetched. Like it's not going to happen. So if calculating a precise sell-through rate on eBay is off the table, or at least wildly impractical for most of us, what do you do instead, right? Like, I mean, you still need a way to estimate demand. Like you still need a signal that tells you if I list this, how long will it take to sell? But instead of trying to force like clean numbers out of a basically broken tool, I use something quicker and easier and way more realistic for how eBay actually works. I call it a demand check, but don't get stuck on the name. I literally just made that up. Like the name is not important. You can call it whatever you want. But doing a demand check is a quick gut level way to gauge demand on eBay. It compares how many of a particular item have sold recently to how many are actively listed, which now that I say that out loud, it sounds a lot like sell-through rate, but bear with me here. Like doing a demand check, it answers the question like how frequently does this item sell and how many competitors are there? Like think of it like this. You search for an item, you see that 2 have sold in the last 90 days and around 27 are currently listed. Now because sales history goes back 90 days on eBay, that means a buyer shows up once roughly every 45 days to buy this thing on average. And they've got about 27 competing listings to choose from. So will it sell eventually? Yeah, everything sells eventually, but is this one worth your time? Probably not. Now let's say you search for another item and see that 30 have sold. There's only 4 listed. That means one sells roughly every 3 days on average, and there's barely any competition. Odds are if you list it, it's going to sell within a week or 2, if not quicker, and that's a much better signal of demand. And I'm spending like literally 20 seconds tops on researching stuff per item. Like I just don't spend a lot of time. I time box it because I know perfection is a long way away if I could even get there at all. And perfection is just not necessary. And you may be thinking, well, you're using those active and sold numbers anyway that you know they're not accurate because the data is messy and all that other stuff that you said earlier. And you're right. I am using them. I know they're not always accurate, but you see what I'm doing here, right? Like I'm not trying to be precise. It's just a rough feeling of how long it might take for something to sell, which is really all you need. And that's the argument I'm making here, by the way, like that you often don't need anything more than that, than just a rough feeling. This method assumes that the numbers you see might not be accurate. It knows it's not perfect, but chasing sell-through rate perfection on eBay is a trap. You're better off building a system that assumes imperfection, but still mostly gets you what you need so that you can make a decision and quickly move on. And you want to keep in mind what kind of business we're running here, right? Like we're buying one-off items that we stumble across in quick succession at places like thrift stores and garage sales, usually for like $5 or $10 a piece. These aren't the kind of purchases that call for rigorous research. Like nobody needs a 10-page market analysis before dropping $6 on a bread maker. You don't need to turn into Warren Buffett every time you're standing in Goodwill with a $4 hoodie. If you blow it, you're out the price of an iced latte, not a mortgage payment. The time that you spend researching value and supply and demand should match the size of the investment and the risk. And this method doesn't apply to every business model, obviously, like not even every eBay business model. It doesn't even apply to my own eBay business model all the time. If I'm looking at a larger bulk buy that's going to cost some real money, you can bet that I'm going to be going deeper than a 20-second scan of active and sold before pulling the trigger. But when it comes to everyday sourcing in the ways that you and I do it, a fast demand check is good enough, and anything more complicated is just a waste of time. Now, naturally, the next question is something like, well, what's a good level of demand? When should I buy and when should I pass? And the honest answer is that, well, it depends. Like there's no one right answer here. It depends on things like how much space you have. Like I've got a pretty big basement. You've seen it. So I'm comfortable sitting on things for a while. But if you're working out of your bedroom, you probably need your inventory to move a little bit faster than I do, which means your threshold for a good level of demand should probably be higher than mine, right? Like how high it needs to be, I don't really know. You have to answer that. It also depends on value. Like personally, I will tolerate a lower level of demand if the profit is higher, or I'll buy something with a lower profit, but a higher demand knowing it's going to sell in a few days, because why not? You might be different though. And complexity matters too, right? Like if it's annoying to clean, or you have to do a bunch of testing, or it's going to take 45 minutes to list, or it requires a specialty box to ship, that sort of like hassle, it needs to be justified. Like you may not want to do it. I may not care how fast it'll sell if the hassle is just not worth the return, My point is, whether you're checking sell-through rate accurately using some formula or getting a feel for it using a quick demand check, these metrics on their own are only one consideration. They only give you one piece of the puzzle. You need to be thinking about all this other stuff too, and there's no one encompassing formula that covers all of that for you personally. And really the only way to get good at this is practice. Like you're going to learn it over time. The more that you source and list and ship, the better you're going to get at spotting patterns that fit your model. What's fast for me might be slow for you, or what I consider worth holding on to, you might not think is worth the space. It's really more of an art than a science, and you get sharper at it the more you practice. And this, honestly is how selling on eBay works for a lot of people. Not everyone, but a lot of people. People like you and me, through this style of reselling that we're doing, this is how it works. Very rarely is it scientific. There's a million ways to be successful and a million ways to fail. It's almost impossible to provide one-size-fits-all advice, which makes being an eBay educator pretty tough. If you're looking for one definitive answer on how to be successful on eBay, you're just not going to find it. Instead, you're going to find a mishmash of strategies that sometimes work and sometimes don't. It depends on a number of different factors that only you can discover through your own trial and error. And that's totally okay as long as you know that going into it. And the same goes for understanding demand. You need to do it. You need to figure out demand. That has to be a part of the buying process. But most sellers don't need a perfect sell-through rate calculation to make smart buying decisions for eBay. So my advice, just stop worrying about it. It's not necessary. You don't need to reverse engineer messy data while standing in the aisle of a thrift store. You just need a fast and reliable way to answer one question. Roughly how long is it going to take to sell this thing? And that's what a demand check gives you. And of course, you need to combine that with a bunch of other factors to figure out whether you should buy it or not, because it's very subjective. No single formula is going to tell you that. And going forward, I'm really going to try to retrain my brain to say demand check instead of sell-through rate, because when I've been saying sell-through rate in the past, this is what I've meant. I've not been doing rigorous calculations in my head. But I'm going to no doubt forget. Like you're going to hear me say sell-through rate in the future. And when you hear me say that, just know I don't mean actually calculating a true sell-through rate. I'm not spending my time doing that. Instead, I'm just getting a quick gut check on demand. So you got it? Are we good? Okay, let's move on. So we are now in September, so we're going to take a look at August. Look at that, $10,393 in August. That is a huge month for me. $4,943 in net sales. Just, again, a really big month for me. We'll talk about why in just a second. First, I just want to say my average gross per sale is way up. I'm selling expensive stuff. My average net per sale as a result is up as well, but it's not as up as much as you would think based on my historical net profit margins, because my net profit margin is lower than it normally is at 48%. Typically, it's like 55 to 60, and it's lower because I'm selling this stuff on consignment. I've got a consignment deal going on right now. I very rarely do consignments. Usually, they're just not worth it for me, but when something comes my way where the inventory is really special and really valuable, then it does end up being worth it. And this is definitely one of those cases. You can see on this chart here, my top 10 sources by net return. The consignment deal that I'm doing makes up about $2,500 in net return for the month of August. And so if you were to take that away, that leaves me with about $2,500 in net sales for the month of August without the consignment deal, which is right around my average. And so it's pretty interesting to see that. This consignment deal has doubled my business over the course of August, which is pretty awesome. But this net sale amount does include the amount that I'm paying out on consignment. So this net sale is my true take home. Like I'm literally making $4,900 in August off of this. It looks like garage sales really are where the bulk of my non-consignment inventory is coming from in August. Scrolling on down here, I spent $120 on new inventory in August, which is really low Like that's not buying a whole lot of inventory at all. I've had a few dead weeks at garage sales. I'm not going back to thrift stores yet or estate sales yet. I will soon, but I'm not going back there yet. And I've just had a lot of inventory. So it's been okay that I have not bought a lot of new inventory. $351 was the cost of goods sold in August, $1,300 in marketplace fees, $950 in shipping labels, 139 new listings, and 118 sales. Let's see where we're at for the year. I'm just going to change this to year to date. Yeah, look at that. August is just huge. $10,000, definitely my biggest month. No summer slowdown at all, right? You hear about the summer slowdown quite a bit. It depends entirely on your inventory. If you have great inventory, you're not going to have a summer slowdown. If you don't have great inventory, you might have a summer slowdown. My total gross sales for the year, 49,000. My total net sales, 26,000. My goal for the year is 30,000 net. And so I'm already, $3,500 away from hitting my net goal, and we're not even Q4. So I'm definitely doing very well this year. Look at that. Scrolling down for the year, look how consistent I've been with my listing. That's amazing. That's what you want to see on this graph here, is just like a straight of a line as high up as possible. Just like 130 listings, 133, 133, 131, 130, 139, just almost a straight line since April, which is really awesome to see. So patting myself on the back for good listing habits here over the course of the year. Let's go ahead and take a look at the last 7 days. This is a weekly show, so let's take a look at last week. $1,402 in gross sales and $680 in net sales. My goal per week is $600 in net sales, so I did reach that, which is good, but 2 days have been with vacation mode on. Vacation mode is currently on right now. It's complicated why it's on. I've got some travel coming up. I'm not gone right now, obviously, but because of Labor Day and because I couldn't ship today and I'm going to be traveling tomorrow, I was not able to ship tomorrow, so I had to put vacation mode on over the weekend. Anyway, it's complicated, but I did have 2 dead days. That's my point. Not because I got no sales, but because I was not allowing sales on vacation mode. $70 was my average gross per sale, $34 my average net per sale, 49% net profit margin. Scrolling on down here, 8 new listings. I'm still sick. I don't know what's going on. Week 3 now. Still just not feeling totally up to my normal. And so I've just been kind of slacking on listing. I've not been a good reseller, but sometimes you just need a break. And for me, it's been like the last 3 weeks, I feel like I've needed a break. I can't wait to get over this sickness. But last 7 days, $50 in cost of goods sold, $166 in marketplace fees, and $159 in shipping label costs. All right, let's jump into my top 10 sales, starting with this vintage 1984 G.I. Joe Warthog plane. You guys saw this. I bought 2 of them at a garage sale, both of them in terrible condition. The first one sold within a couple hours. This one I priced up a little bit higher because it was not in as bad of condition, but it sold for $33.98. This is a good example of where I got a little bit screwed on shipping, and I do flat rate shipping. Well, first I'll just say items sell on eBay for a total amount, right? Like it doesn't matter if I charge $33.98 free shipping or $26.99 and $6.99 in shipping or $15 and $18 in shipping. It has a value, and this thing's value was right around $30, given its condition. And so I chose to split it up this way, $26.99 plus $6.99 in shipping for a total of $33.98. The buyer was good with that. They bought it. However, this buyer just happened to be very far away from me. In fact, the furthest away that my business policies allow, they were in Oregon. And so the cost to ship on this thing was $19.58, which is very high. This is a lightweight item, but it needs to go in a pretty big box. And typically the size of the box is going to make a bigger impact on the cost to ship. But this is just, by doing flat rate shipping or free shipping, not doing calculated shipping, it does open you up to risk. And this is one of those risks where someone far away is going to buy your item and it's going to cost more in shipping than you wish that it did. Now, am I going to lose sleep over this one? No. The reason I do flat rate or free shipping is because it makes the time to list very fast. I don't have to do any weights and measures. In my head, I have to know roughly how much it's going to cost to ship. And after doing this for 20 some odd years, I'm good at that. But I'm not weighing, I'm not measuring, I'm not putting it in a box. So it means I can list more because I'm not spending time doing all that other stuff. But it also means I'm opening myself up to risk here. So this did cost $19.58 to ship. My net return was $5.31. That's lower than the other one, the other Warthog plane that I sold for less money, but it shipped much closer. So in the end, I think it evens out. I'm not too worried about it, but just know that risk. If you use calculated shipping, you're not going to lose money on shipping, but also you're not going to make sales because your price is going to price you out of the market for people that are further away from you. And so maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you're not. It's really up to you. Coming in at number 9 is this Drake Waterfowl Systems Realtree camo shirt. I usually keep an eye out for camo things. I don't buy them all the time, and often camo stuff is worthless. But it is a good signal that, hey, maybe this piece of clothing could be worth more money than you think. In this case, this probably really wasn't worth the pickup. I think that I probably thought it was going to sell faster than it actually did. It took 7 months to sell, and I only made $11.22. So this is just not a super great buy, but I want to call it out because they can't always be good buys. If I'm up here saying that all my sales are hundreds of dollars and all that, it's just not realistic. Some things are good, some things are not as good. I don't regret picking this up. This is at a thrift store probably. Yeah, I'm at a thrift store. How much additional time did I spend noticing this on the shelf and picking it up and putting it in a cart and listing it? It's just not a huge time investment, but it's just not the type of thing you probably want to be in your inventory, to be the bulk of your inventory. And so this is probably one I would not pick up again, but I still made $11.22. Coming in at number 8, I definitely would pick this up again. I'm a sucker for vintage underwear. Actually, these are not vintage. And it's just a good point to make. It doesn't have to be vintage to be good. And, if these were vintage, they probably would have been worth twice as much. But they weren't. They were, I think they were 2012 or something. They were, so it's so interesting what sells. And I think what you want to do is try to walk in someone else's shoes when you're thinking about sourcing something to resell. And in this case, you want to think about how men buy clothing. This is how I buy clothing, is that I figure out what I like and then I just rebuy it a million times over. I've got a pair of jeans right now that I've bought this exact pair of jeans probably 6 times. And I can't just go to the manufacturer's website because they don't make this style anymore. So I have a little search saved on eBay. Anytime somebody lists my exact pair of jeans in my size, I just buy them. And they're going to be $20 or $30. And, that's just how a lot of men buy clothing. And so in this case, somebody just had these underwear and they probably got them somewhere that no longer sells them. And so they're just out there looking for them again. And then, the secondary market's the only place that they can find them. And so anyway, that's why a lot of this stuff sells, is because there's just no other opportunity to get the exact same thing anywhere else. So I made $12.73 on these. I thought they were vintage. They weren't. I got them at a garage sale for $3, but still a 6-pack of underwear is going to be worth more than $3. In this case, it was worth $27. All right, coming in at number 7, Bath & Body Works. This is a collaboration with the show Bridgerton. Never seen the show. You guys like that show? Anyway, Bath & Body Works candles. Candles do pretty well. I keep an eye out for candles if they're the right brand. Bath & Body Works is a pretty good brand, not always worth it, but sometimes. And this gave me, seeing it was a collaboration with a show like Bridgerton, told me probably worth more money. Didn't even look them up. They sold in 4 months for $40. What did I pay for them? I paid $1 a piece. So just definitely worth picking up. Net return was $24.06. You do want to be careful selling candles in the summer. I don't remember where these went, but here's what I do. I bag them first. I put them in a sealable bag just in case they do end up melting. They're not going to leak all over the place. Then I wrap them in several layers of insulation, whether that's bubble wrap or paper or both. Not only is that important because they're glass and you don't want them to break, but it also helps keep the heat out. It may not get as hot with some insulation in there. Then I just message the buyer hey, don't let these sit on your porch for a week. Obviously it takes a while to ship and it's sitting in hot trucks and whatnot, but it's, get them inside as quickly as you possibly can. No issues with this one. I've really rarely run into that issue, but it's always something to keep in mind. Coming in at number 6, this is a new brand for me, Travis Matthew. I don't know, that name sounds familiar, but I looked it up quickly before recording this and it's not like a person. I don't know who Travis Matthew is, but it doesn't appear to be an actual person. It's just a brand. I had no idea that this brand was worth this much money. This is a pretty boring hoodie that's used, and it's sold for $52.63 in 2 months. My net return was $28.52. I'm not quite sure why it is as good of a brand as it is. I don't know who it's appealing to. I don't know. Happy to sell it though. Do you guys know why Travis Matthew's a good brand? Is it in my head, it's a skateboarding brand or a snowboarding brand. And I was expecting it to be a professional athlete of some sort, Travis Matthew, but it doesn't appear to be. So I don't know, whatever. Happy to get it out the door. $28.52. Coming in at number 5, this is a trailer wiring kit. So this is a piece that you would connect to a car and then to a trailer, so the brake lights of the car, interact with the brake lights of the trailer. I got this for $2, I think, right? $2 at a garage sale. And the thing about these is they're different for every car. Like this one is specifically for a 2017 to 2020 Chrysler Pacifica Limited. So that definitely narrows the market for who might be interested in a thing like this. But that's the great thing about eBay. The market's huge. 140 million people. There's got to be a few people out there that are driving a 2017, 2020 Chrysler Pacifica Limited that needs a trailer wiring kit. And it took 2 months to find it. $60.98. That's a really good price on that for a $2 garage sale item. My net return was $42.37. Coming in at number 4, this is I don't know what this is. A Honeywell Aquastat controller. What is this? I have no idea. You don't need to know what it is to sell it. If it has a model number, you're going to be able to comp it and figure out exactly what you should be selling it for. But you don't need to know what it actually does. Like my guess is this is like a sprinkler control, something to control a sprinkler, maybe like a pool pump. I don't know. You tell me if you know what an Aquastat controller box is. This thing sold for $80 though in 5 months, $52.39. This came from a bulk buy of a bunch of stuff like this, fixtures and other things. Looks like I have 75 items in that bulk buy. 115 have sold. Total list value of the active is $5,600. My net income so far is $3,800. Looks like that with that total list value, in my margins between 50 and 60%, I've got about $2,500 to $3,000 in net return left on the stuff that hasn't sold yet. So this one's doing pretty well. Coming in at number 3 is this Seymour Duncan bridge pickup for a guitar. I got a bunch of these pickups from Seymour Duncan. And one thing that's interesting is I've been using ChatGPT to help me identify these. And, I use that quite a bit to help me identify random things. But all of these Seymour Duncan pickups looked exactly the same with very little differentiators. So it was hard to tell, what exactly they were. But I used ChatGPT to help me identify what they were, even though there weren't identifying markings. And so ChatGPT told me that these pickups are often they're measured from screw to screw. The distance between those screws means something, and it helps you know exactly what kind you have. So anyway, I knew nothing about these, but I just used ChatGPT to train me on how to identify specific Seymour Duncan pickup so that I knew what I was selling. Otherwise, I would have no idea what this thing is. There was no other identifying markings, but I'm able to figure that out with the help of ChatGPT, have the correct information in the listings and the correct pricing. And this one sold in 7 days for $65.49. The net return was $26.75. So with ChatGPT, it's not just about visually identifying, because when I asked it, it was well, that's a Seymour Duncan pickup. Well, yeah, I know that. What kind? And then I went down a rabbit hole of it teaching me how to identify it. So you can use it for all sorts of things like that. It's pretty cool. Coming in at number 2, check this thing out. Not a real gun. Don't freak out. This is a Buck Rogers atomic space gun. It's a toy from the 1930s. Really cool old toy. This thing was really valuable. $121.98. The net return, $46.98. That's because, if you notice, that net return is really low, based on the sold amount. And that's because it was sold on consignment. So this is one of the consignment deals. And so what I end up doing, how I track consignments here, is I put a $0 cost of goods. Once it sells, I get a clean net return after it ships. And after all expenses are accounted for, you then have a clean net return. And I split that net return. In this case, it's a 50-50 split. So I paid out $46.98. And I kept a net return of $46.98. And so, adding those two together, that is the actual net return had I not been selling this on consignment. So, but either way, this is a good sale, a really interesting sale, and happy to get it out the door for the second best flip of the week. That leaves us with number 1, also a consignment sale, just a really cool piece. I love selling this stuff. That's why I was so excited about this consignment deal that I'm doing. Lots of vintage music equipment, music tool. This thing right here is it is a guitar pedal. It's a Qtron envelope filter guitar pedal. It was built in the 1980s in the USA, in New York City. And it's just, I mean, just look at this thing. Like, it has all the original manuals, it has the original power supply, and it even has the original like wooden box that it came in with, a painted on like logo. It's just, I don't know, just really, really cool. The comps that existed for this thing, there were some comps, there were some newer models, there were some that were incomplete, but this, I priced it up and it sold in one day for $314.99. That's 300 even plus $14.99 in shipping. My net return, again, split 50-50. My net return was $140.03, and the person I'm consigning for, also got the same amount, $140. I guess I took a penny more. I guess I should probably give them the penny, I guess. I'll fix that later. But this is just a really cool piece. This is something you're just likely not going to run across very often. So that's why I like doing some consignment deals, is because part of it is, for me, and why I love reselling is the hunt, and is being able to own these things even for a little bit of time. I don't know. I'm wired that way. I like these things. I like to mess around with them. I like to test them. I don't know. It's just fun to have cool inventory. And yeah, I'm rambling. Is this thing still recording? But anyway, best sale of the week, $314.99. A really cool vintage made in the USA guitar pedal. So cool to see this one go out the door. All right, lights out. Can y'all tell that I'm still sick and still struggling? Like, it's no joke, 3 weeks now that I've been sick. I'm pretty sure it was COVID. I didn't test. I don't leave the house all that often. So it's been bad, And actually, it's like, I don't know. It's not that it's been bad. I've been at like 70% for 2 weeks. And that doesn't sound all that bad, but when you want to be at 100%, it's just like, come on, when is this thing going to go away? And the biggest thing for me, honestly, has been I haven't been able to get out and exercise. And I need to exercise. My brain just doesn't work well when I'm not exercising. And so I haven't been able to go out on my runs. I've been out on a few, but they've not gone well. And so I'm hoping maybe by this weekend, I'll be back to normal. I don't know. I keep saying that, though. I keep saying, oh, yeah, I'll be good soon. I don't know. If this lasts longer than a month, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm just under a new normal. I don't know. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.